This is an ABP Live Podcast.
Hi guys, welcome to ABP Live Podcasts. I'm your host Niharika, Nanda, and today I have a very, very special guest with me. He is the one and the only Mr. Ricky Kej, the 3-time Grammy Award winner, music composer. Hello sir, welcome to ABP Live Podcasts.
Thank you so much. Glad to be on your show.
It is my absolute pleasure to have you here. Firstly, what's up? What's going on these days?
Lots of things actually. I just finished a new version of our National Anthem, which I recorded with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra in London.
Wow.
And with a 100-piece orchestra. So it's the biggest symphony orchestra to ever record our Indian National Anthem. I conducted them. So that's been particularly exciting. And of course, I'm super excited about this concert I have in Delhi tomorrow at the City Fort Auditorium. So that's going to be one of my biggest concerts that I've done in India.
Wow.
And we'll have like a large 25-piece band, and and it's going to be spectacular.
Amazing. So what is it like? Like your night or the day just before a concert, is it just as crazy as it used to be probably a couple of years before, or is it now much calmer and things are not as, rushy?
Actually, it's not become more calmer simply because the ambitions for a concert in the past were very low.
Right.
So as we progress, the ambitions far outreach our grasp. So we are constantly trying to better and better our concerts. So that's why the nervousness never stops, because what I would consider to be a good concert in the past is not what I would consider a good concert to be right now.
Absolutely.
So you're constantly trying to better yourself. So that's why the nervousness is always there. Constantly trying to take bigger and bigger risks at concerts. Yeah.
Right. So things are pretty calm and you are all sorted for tomorrow then, I would say.
No, not really at all.
No. So there are always, of course, I mean, last moment jitters are always there for
of course.
Right. And talking a little about this project that you've been working on, the orchestra performing our national anthem. Can you tell us a little about it? How was it and how did it happen? What all went into it?
So this has been, the planning has been going on for the last 3 months for this.
Okay.
And the idea was that I've done a lot of versions of the National Anthem in the past. And the National Anthem is a piece of music that's very important to me, as it is for 1.4 billion Indians.
Absolutely.
For me, it's particularly important because it's the first piece of music that I ever learnt as a child. So even before I learnt any loris or any lullabies or nursery rhymes, the first piece of music that I learnt was the National Anthem, so it's pretty much in my blood. And the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, I've collaborated with them in the past, including my last Grammy-winning album, Divine Tides. They are a part of that. So I thought, okay, why not bring the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra to record a new version of the National Anthem, and a 100-piece orchestra.
Wow.
So it'll be the biggest symphony. But at the same time, there's an added icing on the cake that, after having ruled us for 200 years, an Indian guy conducting the British orchestra, performing the Indian National Anthem, I thought that's a beautiful story.
Absolutely.
It's coming full circle. So that's when I approached them with this. They loved the idea. So 3 months planning, because since there are 100 musicians, everybody needs to know what to play. So you have to write down all their scores, and you have to know exactly what each person is going to play, and you have to make sure that everything is in perfect harmony. And then the recording was just 1 hour.
Wow.
Because the anthem is just a minute long.
Right.
So the recording took just about an hour and we were done with it. And this happened about 3 days ago. And on the 14th of August at 5 p.m. is when I release it. But in tomorrow's concert, the people who come for tomorrow's concert will get a sneak peek into the...
Oh, okay.
Get a special treat. They'll get a sneak peek into the anthem before anybody else in the world watches.
So for all those people who are attending tomorrow's concert, there is going to be a special treat for sure.
Of course, for sure.
They have an edge over the others.
True, and of course the concert itself is going to be a treat.
That is as is. Okay, and you've spent many of your years in Bangalore.
Yes.
While you are half Punjabi and half Marwari.
Correct.
And you were born back in US.
Yes.
You are already a person who is, a mix of so many cultures.
Correct.
So who is Ricky Kej as a person, as a combination of all these beautiful cultures?
So I'm just a proud Indian, that's all I would say. I'm a very, very proud Indian, and everything about me is about India.
Right.
As I say, because my music is primarily Indian, and that's how I express myself.
Right.
Like they would say about, let's say, an Indian person who wants to cook a meal. If they have to cook a very authentic pasta or a lasagna, they would cook something which is really authentic to Italy, a fantastic dish, because Indian chefs are very, very talented. But just before it goes to the dinner table to their family,
There's going to
they're
be a
gonna put
mint leaf.
Not just mint leaf. There's going to be like a little bit of chili powder. There's going to be a little bit of turmeric powder because that's how we are as Indians. When you go to a pizza place, we put chili flakes on it. So
Right.
It's the same thing. So I guess for me also it's the same thing. No matter how much I try to make a piece of music which is as Western as possible, there's always going to be an Indian soul
Indian
to
touch to it, an Indian taste to it.
Correct.
Right. And from your Bangalore days,
Yeah.
How was life in Bangalore? How were your days in Bangalore?
Bangalore has been a very, very good city to me, and Bangalore has made me who I am because I've been there since I was 6 years old, right up to now. So
Wow.
that makes it 36 years I've been in Bangalore.
My God.
So it's been an amazing time. I stayed in the same house for the entire time. I don't know what else to say. It's just my city, and
It's home.
it's home. That's all I can say. Bangalore's changed so much across the years, but it's still my home, and that's where I travel so much nowadays. And people ask me that, when you're traveling so much, what is your home? I say Bangalore, and they say why? Then I say because my dogs are there. Because with your family you can travel everywhere.
Right.
So your home is always where your dogs are.
Your dogs are. Right. So don't you miss your dogs while you travel here and here to
Of
Delhi?
course, a lot. I miss them a lot. But when I'm in Bangalore, they are with me the whole time. They're always in the studio hanging out with me. And, so I guess they've gotten used to my absence. And they love it when I'm back.
True. So isn't it like a problem for them, or they're also well trained? Like if they are roaming around the studio and you are recording, so isn't the background of their voices and their
No, it does not pose
barks-
a problem at all.
They are well trained.
They know when I'm recording. They know when I'm not recording. They know when to be manipulative. They know that they can annoy me when I'm on the phone. Because when I'm on the phone, I only have one hand free. And they know
Right.
they can do stuff. They can pick up stuff from the trash bin. They can pick up, they can destroy stuff because I'm not going to.
They can
I'm not going to
create
stop them.
as much of a ruckus as they
As
can.
much havoc as they can when I'm on the phone. So they're like that. And they know how to manipulate me with their eyes when I'm eating food and all of that stuff. So they're very good at all of that. They are drama kings.
Okay, now coming to the fact of winning 3 Grammys.
Yeah.
When you won your first one,
Yeah.
what was that feeling like?
Yeah, it was obviously an amazing feeling because the Grammys always felt like an unattainable dream. It was not even an unattainable dream, not even a dream at all. It was something that was impossible during this lifetime, especially growing up, creating music in India, that kind of international recognition, having the biggest award of music in the world.
True.
It just felt it will never happen in our lifetime.
And yet here you are.
And here it happened. It happened when I was 33 and then 2 more times. So it's
My
it's
God.
been absolutely amazing and I'm super, super grateful for it.
And in that moment, like when your name was announced, like, we see such pageants where the strongest of the women, they crash down
Yeah.
crying. And, we've seen people receive awards. In that one moment, as your name was being announced, what was that feeling?
So I guess I was extremely nervous before the award was announced. I was very, very nervous, sitting down there with all these celebrities and it getting very, very real that, that this is the Grammy Awards. So there was extreme nervousness. But I remember very clearly that when they announced my name and I had to go up on stage, the nervousness immediately disappeared. Like on an instant, a split second, the nervousness disappeared. And the only thing that came to my mind was that now nobody can stop me from being a musician. I can be a musician for the rest of my life. Because for me, success is defined by the metric if I can be a musician till the day I die. That is what success for me would be.
Wow, that's a very beautiful definition because
And the Grammy ensures that.
absolutely, and 3 times it did.
Yeah.
So, okay, what are the Grammy jamming sessions like? I mean, these are people who are legends of
Yeah.
the global music industry, including yours truly.
Yeah.
How was that? Like, were there, some fun jamming sessions that you could have? Were there, did people erupt into music out of nowhere? Did something like this happen ever?
No such thing like that because
Okay.
the thing is that it's a formal event and and plus like everybody's at their hotels, they dress up and they come for the Grammy, so it's more about the glitz and the glamour during that day. But I can give you some insight as to what happens on stage.
Ooh, lovely.
Like so basically in the previous years to 2022 when I won my Grammy Award with Stuart Copeland for my album Divine Ties and the first time when I won my Grammy, they used to give us 2 minutes as an acceptance speech.
Okay.
So 2 minutes for an acceptance speech and any number of people can talk. Like for example,
Right.
if it's a 5-member band, then all 5 people can speak, but at exactly 2 minutes, they're going to shut off your mic.
Right.
Because it's a live show. So they cannot afford to have things to go over time. So they told us that you got 2 minutes. So even if you feel you're not going to win, prepare an acceptance speech. Because if you're fumbling on stage, you won't be able to get through your speech and we'll shut off your mic in 2 minutes.
Right.
So I did prepare an acceptance speech and I luckily I had to deliver it rather than it just being in my pocket for the rest of my life. So I delivered that speech. Now, in 2022, Stuart Copeland and I were nominated. Stuart Copeland being the greatest legend when it comes to music, said to be the greatest drummer in the history of music, somebody who I've idolized my entire life. So they sent an email, the Grammy, saying that this year, rules have changed, it's 45 seconds.
Oh my.
And only one person can speak. That's it. And if let's assume that one person speaks for 15 seconds, and a second person is coming to the mic, they're going to shut off the mic.
Oh my.
So we immediately decided that Stuart Copeland will speak. Stuart Copeland was protesting. He's like, no, you should be speaking. You should get the opportunity. Then I told him that, no, it's better if you praise me rather than I praise myself.
Oh, that's a smart move.
That's a smart move. So he agreed to that. We were called out as the winners. So we went up on stage. And Stuart Copeland made a quick drummer joke in about 10 seconds. And he said this award is all about Ricky because, it's an album which Ricky has initiated. So this award goes to Ricky. So Ricky, take the mic. And I was sure they're going to shut off the music. They're going to start the music and they're going to shut off the mic. And then Stuart Copeland, he knew the conductor of the orchestra.
Okay.
He's a legend. And he can get away with stuff like this, what I'm about to tell you. He looked at the orchestrator and the director of the show. He pointed at them and said, don't you dare.
Oh,
and
God.
then he told me, go in front of the mic and say whatever you want. So then I went in front of the mic, and all of this is on YouTube. You'll be able to see it. So
I'm going to check out this part of it, particularly.
You can see him pointing and saying, don't you dare. And then I went up in front of the mic and I delivered my acceptance speech. So I'm so grateful to him because this is what legends are made of. He could have easily gotten, those 45 seconds to speak for himself, been in front of the cameras, but he didn't care.
Right.
He just said that, Ricky's over here, Ricky's a younger musician, we've collaborated together, let's give him this opportunity. I've had my time.
How beautiful is that?
So that is how amazing these people are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Ricky, your music has always been related to nature. Your work has always been related to nature. Why is that so?
So, I've always been two things in my life, an environmentalist and a musician. So two things that have defined my entire career and my music. So there has been some kind of an intersectionality between my music and the environment because I would make music on the environment and on topics which are very close to me when it comes to climate change, when it comes to species extinction, deforestation, celebrating our environment and all of that stuff. Now, the first time when I won my first Grammy Award, I had a beautiful meeting with Prime Minister Modi. And he's the one who encouraged me through that meeting. It was an hour-long meeting. He's the one who encouraged me to dedicate my life and my music to the sole purpose and stop everything else. So when a leader of your nation gives you advice like this, you tend to take it a little seriously, obviously.
True.
So I left the office and I thought that, wow, this is the inspiration that I needed. This is what I need to do. So I left his office fully understanding that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop all forms of music and I'm only going to create music that I love doing. Because a lot of times people do become musicians, people do become dancers or artists, fine artists, sculptors, whatever. And they're doing things, they are in the field that they're passionate about.
Right.
But within that field, they're not doing the art that they're passionate about. Like, for example, composers end up doing Bollywood movies and they're making item songs which they themselves do not listen to.
Right. Or probably are not even very comfortable working on.
Exactly. Or I cannot imagine, there are a lot of musicians who are friends of mine who have done these item songs. And I cannot imagine they themselves sitting down and listening to that music while they're chilling out or whatever.
Right.
So you're creating art that does not define you as a person. You're creating art that you yourself do not listen to. So this was the inspiration that I needed, that I need to create art that I'm proud of. That is a part of me, that is a piece of me. And I don't need to give excuses to people when people listen to my music, like let's say if it's an item song, and then I tell them, no, people like it, that's why I made it,
Right,
or
right.
yeah, current trend there, that's why I'm doing it, I don't have to make any excuses with my music. If people do not like my music, then
That's
you don't
their
like
taste.
my music.
Absolutely.
That's your taste. That's all.
But you don't have any regrets that I didn't do this or I didn't do that.
Exactly. I don't have to
way.
make excuses about my music. This
Absolutely.
is me. That's all. If you don't like my music, you don't like it. That's it.
Absolutely. You have also been trained in Indian classical music.
Correct.
So we have seen Natu Natu win at the
Yeah.
Oscars this year, which is a huge win
And
for
absolutely
Indian
deserved,
music.
yeah.
Absolutely well deserved. But then again, that is also filmon ke gaane.
Yeah.
So where do you see the future of Indian classical music going?
Indian classical music has been winning awards much before Natu Natu. Pandit Ravi Shankar has won 3 Grammy Awards and a Lifetime Achievement Award. Pandit Vishwamohan Bhatt has won a Grammy Award. Zakir Hussain ji has won a Grammy Award. So the thing is that Indian classical music has always been awarded. And it's had global recognition since a very, very long time.
True.
In fact, it's the opposite. It's only now that film music is being recognized. Because film music has only been recognized by people from the Indian diaspora all over the world. So Natu Natu and Jai Ho winning, it just showcases that film music can have a chance at these awards. But the classical musicians have always been appreciated. It's just that we don't appreciate them at home. That's
I think that is a bigger issue as far as our country's taste for music is concerned.
Correct.
And again, talking about the growth of Asian music, we see such amazing work being done by K-pop artists and Korean music blowing minds left, right and center. Where do you see Indian music becoming a part of this whole thing and growing as a whole globally?
I think Indian music is already out there.
True.
So the thing is that when it comes to the so-called world music of like, that what they call any genre of music which is not American or European. So that's like world music.
Right.
So that you have African music. Africa is obviously a continent. So you have a lot of continental African music coming in from different places. You have Congolese music, you have Senegalese music, you got music from Zambia, you got music from Ethiopia, South Africa, all different forms of music and quite unique.
True.
And then of course from India you've got the Indian classical music forms, that is Carnatic and Hindustani classical music, you've got tribal music, you've got folk music, and of course you've got the mainstream Bollywood music. So the thing is that I believe that when it comes to Indian music, first of all, Indian music actually does not need appreciators outside of India. If you look at it in an ideal situation, because India has got 1.4 billion people already.
True.
So if you are reaching out to that 1.4 billion people, you don't need to look elsewhere.
We are one of the biggest countries in the world after all.
We are the most populous country.
The most
in
populous
world.
country, absolutely.
And the largest democracy on this planet. So the thing is that, so actually we do not need to crave for any kind of recognition and all of that stuff. But at the same time, I believe that Indian music is of extremely high quality. So when you look at the classical music forms, there is no such form in the world which has got such beautiful improvisation, which is based on so much of feel, which really transcends you into a different emotional state, which has a spirituality intertwined with it. So I believe that it's very unique. And when it comes to film music, even though I do not do film music, I believe that film music is of extremely high quality in India. The production quality, the mixing, the mastering, the compositional styles, all the elements that is put into film music, it is very, very high quality.
True.
So I believe that it does deserve to be recognized by everybody in the world, but we don't need to crave for that recognition.
That's a beautiful thought. I mean, I was not expecting an answer of that sort, but it is a beautiful way to consider that we are a big country as is. We have such a huge population.
And we've got a built-in audience.
Right, right. And there is always, I mean, of course, we understand that music does not bound itself to language, but yet a familiarity with it does make a difference.
Because we're craving for audiences in, let's say, USA and Europe or thing. If you look at the entire population of USA plus the entire population of Europe, we've got a higher population than that,
My God.
So the thing is that why do we have to look elsewhere?
Absolutely.
We can look at that.
Right.
But then again, sometimes our Indian music itself is not recognized in India, and that's why we have to look abroad.
That is also
Which is why
true.
some of the greats have moved abroad, because they realize that, especially the classical musicians have moved abroad because they feel that, that they're not able to get recognition for the Indian music in India.
Right.
So it is a complicated situation.
It is, absolutely. And you have done some amazing live concerts and shows in such amazing places like the United Nations, New York, as you also mentioned in front of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So any one such moment, any one such concert that is really close to your heart?
So the one concert that is very close to my heart, which I always say is basically my concert at Leh, Ladakh, to celebrate 20 years of Kargil Divas. So I was invited by the army to perform to 12,000 army soldiers.
Beautiful.
And that was an absolutely amazing experience, surrounded by mountains and, Shanti Stupa in my background and 12,000 soldiers in uniform, grooving to my music. So that was a very, very beautiful experience.
Absolutely. I think that must have been a very proud moment for you.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, that particular concert. And of course, there was very little oxygen in the air, so a lot of exertion and a lot of fear of getting sick. So all of those things were happening in the background too, but it was a beautiful experience.
Right. And towards the end, I would just like to ask you, you mentioned that there were a lot of legends while you were at the Grammys.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So were you feeling starstruck, or was it like that, oh my God, I'm in front of these people? Like, honestly, the way I'm feeling right now. Because I'll just like to share something. So the day you won your Grammy, I was still a very, very new journalist, and I had done like an entire piece on that. And cut to this day when I'm sitting in front of you and interviewing you. So it's a big moment for me. And so, was that somewhere a feeling for you as well, or was it more like contentment that, okay, I made it?
No, I was starstruck, obviously. Everybody is, especially with people who you've grown up listening to their music and people who you admired your whole life. But not starstruck by the people who you would imagine somebody would be starstruck by, not by the pop stars, but more the jazz artists and the producers, the engineers who I like, the technicians. These are the people who, I watch their videos on YouTube and I watch their instructional videos and I've learned a lot from them. So those are the people who I got really starstruck by.
That's a beautiful thought, because of course we see a lot of stars in front of cameras, but there is a village working behind them.
Correct.
And they also need just as much.
And people from within the industry know about those people.
Right, exactly.
And and we follow those people and we admire them. So seeing them in person was pretty amazing.
Absolutely, I'm sure. Thank you so much, sir, for joining
Thank
me
you.
today.
Thank you
It
so
was
much.
a pleasure talking to you, and many, many congratulations on the beautiful national anthem that we are going to listen to your version very soon.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you.
Keep listening to Bollywood Binge and Beyond on ABP Live Podcasts.